What's going on, YouTube? This is the Boxing Theorist, and I'm back with another video. And for today's topic, I would like to talk about the showdown that's going down May 28th between Gervonta Davis and Romero. To get right into it, Gervonta Davis, great fighter in my eyes, hasn't really stepped up in competition the way I like him to. He stepped up a little bit by fighting the likes of Gamboa starting out there. Leo Santa Cruz, then Mario Barrios, which I think, in my opinion, was his second toughest challenge. And then more recently, Issac Cruz, which I think was his toughest challenge, his number one toughest challenge. As far as the Gamboa, fight between him and Tank, yeah, he knocked him out in the 12th round, but I started to have some concerns there because due to the fact that he struggled to get him out of there sooner, and it wasn't because of his skill. It kind of had to do with his skill, but I believe that had more to do with the fact that he started to gas out and he couldn't keep up with the feat of Gamboa, a one-legged Gamboa, to top it off. That threw me off a little bit, but as I've stated, he got the knockout. That win was, a win is a win. And mind you, on top of being a one-legged Gamboa, was also older. So that raised some red flags for me in the beginning. But moving on, after that knockout, he proceeds to fight Leo Santa Cruz, which was a better performance, if you ask me. He made the necessary adjustments by timing Leo Santa Cruz in between the shots. That and the fact that he maintained his poise, having his poise to top that off, that showed me a level of maturity within him. You see what I mean? As far as a fighter, as far as being a fighter. Not getting into no firefight with Leo Santa Cruz like Leo may have wanted, rather than him getting sucked into that whole thing with trading shots with him. He made the necessary adjustment because that fight also started out rocky for Tank, and it was looking scary once again. Him taking all those shots, face looking all beat and red and, swollen. He made the necessary adjustment by timing Leo, as I've just stated, backing him up to the ropes. And once Leo was there, I don't understand why Leo decided to do this, but if I could recall, Leo threw the straight right hand 3 times in a row. And that 4th time, that enabled Tank Davis to time him with one perfect uppercut that sent his back to the canvas. And that ended up becoming knockout of the year, which was well deserved, coming from Tank Davis. After that fight, he proceeds to fight Mario Barrios, where Mario Barrios is a highly talented fighter. He fought a guy who was 5'10" in Mario Barrios, 5'10" to 5'11", while Tank Davis is 5'5", 5'6". That's, as far as the height difference, that's just absurd. The reach between Mario Barrios and Tank, major gap difference, all right? Tank Davis ended up overcoming Mario Barrios, where once again he struggled, which, I give Tank this in the fact that it's a tougher challenge due to the fact that Mario's the naturally bigger guy, and Mario was using his range. He started out using this range well when he was fresher, but in the later rounds, due to those body shots coming from Tank and Tank making a miss, A lot of those shots and, applying educated pressure like Canelo, Tank, once again, made the necessary adjustments to overcome that man Mario. He ended up knocking him out in like round 11, I believe. That was one of his greatest wins to date. Moving on to the fight with, his latest one with Issac Cruz. Man, that fight there shocked me. It shocked me. And the reason why is due to the fact that Issac Cruz was, for one, the naturally smaller guy. He was the naturally smaller guy, for one. For two, Issac Cruz came up. I didn't even know about Issac Cruz. That's what I wanted to say. I didn't even know about Issac Cruz, much about him prior to me seeing him fight against Tank. And there were spots in that fight where Issac Cruz was forcing, rather than Tank Davis, fighting off his back foot because he wanted to. There were spots where Issac Cruz forced him backwards, and he was essentially, it looked to me as though he was bullying the bullying Tank, all right? Tank, once again, made an adjustment by swimming without getting wet for the majority of that fight, even though he was getting tagged to the body and to the head. And I like the fact that Issac Cruz maintained a high level of an IQ enough to where when he got tanked to those ropes, he would go to the body to stabilize the head, which would open up those headshots. That was beautiful. I love when I see a lot of fighters, as I think I mentioned in an earlier video. There are a number of fighters that don't understand that. They'll just aim for the head, and it just, especially when they have their opponent against the ropes, forgetting the fact that when you have somebody against the ropes, a lot of people use that as a way of countering, and they forget about the body. I heard Teddy Atlas. I love listening to Teddy because he taught me a lot of what I know about the sport of boxing, through fight night, through listening to him commentate in fight night and watching him commentate live and on his podcast. Issac Cruz often went to the body against Tank, which froze him momentarily for that second in order for him to land some shots over the top. And Issac, he showed that he had a phenomenal chin. Unfortunately, Tank wasn't able to knock out, Issac, Cruz, but you also got to take into account that he broke his hand. If he wasn't to break his hand, who knows the outcome and how that would have turned out. Injuries can kind of like set some of your attributes and skill sets back during a fight. You know what I mean? So, that's something to take into consideration. But regardless of the fact, even before Tank's hand was broken, Tank was hitting that man flush, and Issac was still trotting forward, as if the shit wasn't phasing him. So, Tank ended up winning that by decision. And I didn't really respect the fact that Tank didn't, he said that he wouldn't, consider a rematch. I thought that was BS. When it comes down to it, people will forever hang that over your head if you don't take that rematch. That can be a legacy-defining thing for you. And I feel like the right thing to do would be just to negate all those haters who claim that Issac should have won. You should still take that fight. If I was Tank, I would take the fight. Unless Tank want to move on to bigger and better things, which that's probably his reason. But still, the right thing to do would be to take that fight, dog. But moving on, now Tank is fighting Rolly Romero. And I believe that that's going to be an easy fight for Tank. But before I, predict who will be the winner, I'll say Rolly Romero. I want to talk about Rolly for a little bit. Rolly had a fight about a year going on 2 years ago, where I forgot the guy's name, and please forgive me for that, but he fought a guy, and that fight was controversial. I scored that fight. I watched a lot of channels on YouTube talking about it and read an article on it where it was a controversial decision going in Rolly Romero's favor. And man, I watched it. I scored it. Rolly Romero didn't win that fight. He didn't win that fight at all. It's crazy. I wonder who paid off those judges that day, because it might have been Floyd himself, because that fight was clearly going in his opponent's favor. That left some questions. But he got the win. We move on, you know. Rolly proceeds to have 2 other fights and wins those by knockout. Mind you, these are all B-level, C-level fighters. So, you know, I like Rolly's personality, but his style just doesn't appeal to me. I mean, the man has a herky-jerky type of style. You know, kangaroo is almost it's almost kangaroo-like, you know. He's just hopping around the ring, and foot placement is horrible. Footwork is lackadaisical. I mean, his footwork is just lacking. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't fight in a traditional textbook style. It's just his fundamentals are just poor. And how he was able to beat all of those guys, I think, you know what, I just explained it. Those are B and C level fighters. He can get away with fighting that way with those guys, but against a guy like Tank, I just can't see it happening. I could see Tank and Rolly Romero he fights at 100 miles per hour. I mean, the man is just fast-paced, and he has power. I'll give him that. And, you know, the fact that he's unorthodox, that can pose a problem to high-level fighters depending on how skillful, if they still have some form of skill and some good fundamentals. You know, you do have unorthodox fighters who have good fundamentals, or better fundamentals, like Boo Boo Andre, all right? He's a guy who's unorthodox as well. He's awkward. But he is like night and day. He clearly has better skills and attributes than Rolly Romero. So I'll just put it like this. I see Gervonta Davis knocking out Rolly Romero by round 8. I say by 6, but I'm going to be nice and play it safe and say by 8. All right? Yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got to say. You know, Gervonta Davis is stepping up and another thing I wanted to mention. Gervonta Davis, you know, I read on his Twitter page that he was talking about his contract, you know, him not being happy with his contract with Mayweather Promotions, which is shocking. But at the same time, I'll say this. It seems as though Floyd is trying to steer his career the way he wanted to be steered. And Tank is 27, going on 28. It's about that time he started fighting the likes of Josh Taylor, guys like, you know, Devin Haney, and he need Ryan Garcia if Ryan still wants to fight him. But it's time for him to step up in competition and go for bigger and better things rather than being stringed along. And mind you, he's box office, but it's because he's a knockout artist. And Floyd wasn't really putting him, in my opinion, like I said, I'll give him credit for stepping up in competition, fighting those guys that I mentioned earlier. But I want to see him fight some tougher competition, some better competition. I'm talking A-level competition is what I mean, to put it in hindsight. But yeah, man, I got Tank winning and beating Rolly Romero, man. And I love Rolly. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I like his personality and all, but his fighting style is just weird. And mind you, I laugh. I mean, I get a laugh out of the boy. You know what I mean? You know, so, hey, you know, I mean, you know, that's really all I got to say. So please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Comment below what y'all think as well. All right, love y'all. Peace.